My mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. All I am I owe to my mother. I attribute my success in life to the moral, intellectual and physical education I received from her. George Washington. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth, and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to appellation. But lest some unlucky event should happen unfavorable to my reputation, I beg it may be remembered by every gentleman in the room that I this day declare with the utmost sincerity, I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with. A free people ought not only to be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan is requisite, and their safety and interest require that they should promote such manufactories as tend to render them independent of others for essential, particularly military, supplies. George Washington. However, political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the course of time and things, to become potent engines, by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. George Washington. As mankind becomes more liberal, they will be more apt to allow that all those who conduct themselves as worthy members of the community are equally entitled to the protections of civil government. I hope never to see America among the foremost nations of justice and liberality. George Washington. The turning points of lives are not the great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. George Washington. Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable, procures success to the weak, and esteem to all. George Washington. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire, called conscience. George Washington. Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair, the rest is in the hands of God. George Washington. The foolish and wicked practice of profane cursing and swearing is a vice so mean and loath that every person of sense and character detests and despises it. George Washington. True friendship is a plant of slow growth, and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity, before it is entitled to the appellation. George Washington. Happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. George Washington. Observe good faith and justice toward all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. George Washington. Laws made by common consent must not be trampled on by individuals. George Washington. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. George Washington. I can only say that there is not a man living who wishes more sincerely than I do, to see a plan adopted for the abolition of it, but there is only one proper and effectual mode by which it can be accomplished, and that is by legislative authority, and this, as far as my suffrage will go, shall never be wanting. George Washington.